Senator Gordon is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm actually standing here with mixed emotions at the moment. All of us are, I believe. So I wonder if my good friend, Senator Cayetano, will yield just a few questions.
Yes, Mr. President, it would be an honor to do so.
We were in the refectory a while ago when the distinguished gentle lady gave her privileged speech about drugs and the alleged extrajudicial killings that have been ongoing. If memory serves correct, I was once upon a time in America lobbying for veterans' rights, and one senator, I was then at that time with Senator Inoue, who was fighting for veterans' rights for us. One senator from, I believe it was Patrick Leahy, I was with the ambassador at that time, raised the issue that they're not going to give any aid to the Philippines because of extrajudicial killings. This is during the time of a previous administration. So, Mr. President, when we start talking about extrajudicial killings, there is a long history of extrajudicial killings in this country, if you will. And the sad truth about this, and I'm sure the gentleman will agree, that there has been nothing done to put a stop to this. Would you agree?
There's been little done.
Thank you. Upon the other hand, we are talking about impunity versus impunity today in these very hallowed halls of the Senate. The allegations that there is impunity in alleged extrajudicial killings, and the fact that we are reacting and we are seeing a phenomenon in our country that has not been seen in a long, long time. A president has been elected with 6 million votes majority, precisely because he spoke out against the impunity of drug proliferation, of corruption, and now he's addressing it. The shoe is on the other foot. He is now being accused of alleged extrajudicial or tolerating extrajudicial killings. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree, Mr. President.
I heard our good friend and my fraternity brother, Senator Pangilinan, talked about what is the solution, and I was troubled. I didn't want to participate here lest it might drop into my lap as a Blue Ribbon Committee chairman, and I wanted to keep my objectivity. But the fact remains is that we have been pounded in this country by apathy, by negligence, by our inability to solve the problem. We know how to fix the blame, but we don't know how to fix the problem. Would you agree with that?
Difficult to answer. Some of us have ideas, but difficult, Mr. President.
I'm sure you have, but that's just an observation. I'm just asking you to agree or not. But the general tendency in this country is we know how to fix the blame, but when we start talking here in this august body as senators who are elected by the national populace, we're expected to provide solutions, and we're all seeking a solution to this problem. And so therefore, I hasten to say that when you go back, as an investigation, you go back to the crime scene and you go back to the preambles or the what preceded the crime scene, we can easily fix the blame and say, well, there is no enforcement in our airport. Our airports are very porous. In fact, it's not only drugs that come in, but yung dagdag bala, hindi nasosolve. Our shorelines are very porous. Drugs come in, and possibly another power could really destabilize us by just keep on bringing in drugs in our country. In fact, there's even a lawyer from Hong Kong now investigating or trying to represent alleged shabu smuggling in Subic Bay. And they're saying that the police have really tried to pin the blame on innocent Chinese individuals who happen to be aboard and confiscated drug materials or drug making equipment have been done. So if you go back and back and back and you go back to the penitentiary of this country, I'm aghast because it's not only happened in the last administration, but in the previous administration. You know, people, there are drug pushers there are criminals out there who are being given special privileges. Jacuzzis, women in prison, weapons, money, you name it, they have it. Isn't that correct?
Correct, Mr. President.
In fact, Your Honor, in the past, people are being allowed to escape from jail to kill people. When I was in the Senate, There was a drug lord who allowed somebody who was allowed to control practically the prison, and a judge was killed. And it landed on my lap, and we were able to find out from the police, if they want to solve the crime, they were able to pinpoint the drug pusher or the drug lord in Congress, who was already in jail. And so up to now, they're still able to, sa Tagalog, nahahasik pa sila ng lagim at dilim sa ating bansa. So obviously, there is apathy, there is negligence, there is something that deliberately there is a poison even among our law enforcement authorities, even among the people running the jails, the justice system, the judges. I remember the father of one of our senators here, Mayor Estrada, when he became president, said, let's kill all the pushers. There was even a movie about that. There was even statements made by the good president at that time saying that there are hoodlums in robes. And yet, we're still here. So we can keep on going back and back and back. And still, apparently, there has been nothing done about the problem. And so, Mr. Chairman, it behooves us here today, as I said a while ago to our good friend Senator Villar, you know, ever since I've been in the Senate, we keep praying and we all try to invent a better prayer than the last prayer the day before. But apparently God does not listen. Because we keep praying and saying, oh, this is a good country, we can do this and that. But up to now, our prayers apparently have been falling on deaf ears. I hope I'm not doing a blaspheme event here, but certainly this is what I'm seeing here today. The good Justice Secretary was Justice Secretary when all these things happened, and she may very well say that I was the one who started the investigation. But the fact remains is there is still command responsibility all the way up to the President of the last administration when they did not stop this proliferation of drug lords, these abuses in the penitentiary, or for that matter, could I ask the question now that there is killings nowadays, or there are killings nowadays, because I'm surprised. I have not heard a drug lord, really a big drug lord, killed on the streets of our country. What I see are drug pushers, and to a certain extent, unfairly or fairly, there is statement even by that Pieta image of a photograph that came out in the newspapers that says we may have killed the innocent, or for that matter, they killed their own case when the wife even admitted that the guy who was killed was also taking drugs. So everybody seems to be stained. Everybody seems to have the blood of Cain in our persons. So, Mr. President, I don't know really what the solution will be, but I do know this. We have to start somewhere, and if there is a reduction in crime today, as the good gentleman from the Give would have us believe, the fact remains is there are also, and there's also an uneasy feeling even amongst us, even among the people that want the pushers eliminated, that we are on a very slippery situation when people are being killed everywhere and nobody knows who's doing the killing, and we just say vigilante killing. When in fact, you can very well ask the policeman, bakit alam nyo ngayon bigla na nababaril nyo at sinasabi nyong pusher yan? Were you handling them before? That question may very well be asked, isn't it? And I think we will all agree to that. Even whatever party, whatever president we had, we may very well agree to that fact. And so, Mr. President, there are processes here. To the good gentle lady, and I hope she doesn't misinterpret me, when we accuse the police of something, we must be ready to present the evidence. And you don't have to, Your Honor. I accepted, and I did not ask for the Blue Ribbon Committee. I accepted it out of duty as a senator. But the point is, I am not a policeman who will investigate. I'm just here to go in aid of legislation. And when I look at the situation, Mr. Chairman, is it not true that we have, a law? We do have a law, Republic Act 8551, that when a policeman is involved, when a firearm is discharged, there is that automatic provision that automatically an investigation must be conducted by the Internal Affairs Service. Not by Human Rights, not by the Senate, but by the Internal Affairs Division. We crafted that law here. I was not part of it, but it was crafted before me. Is it that right?
That's correct, Mr.
And so therefore, we should allow that law that was crafted in this Congress to take its course. For example, we don't have to go far, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. When a policeman is involved with somebody who's already in handcuffs and a firearm is grabbed, there is a smoking gun right away. No one is going to believe that a guy, especially in this atmosphere where people are being killed, maybe it can go 50-50. The guy says, I'm going to be killed. I may as well have a chance where he grab his gun. But upon the other hand, when there are 3 policemen holding him and in his handcuffs, it is unlikely that he would grab the gun. And so therefore, he would be killed. Isn't that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. President.
So you see, Mr. Chairman, where is the Internal Affairs Services in this picture? Perhaps that is the question we should ask. Perhaps we should ask the PNP head by the name of Bato or Colonel De La Rosa, not to be Bato in coming out with an investigation. Not to be niggard, not to be kuripot in coming out with an investigation, that in these areas where there is a chance to find out whether the policeman had properly discharged their firearm or killed somebody, that he has to explain, and that immediately there must be a report. And that all these vigilante killings must be investigated nonetheless, and we should not just, wipe our hands clean of it. Upon the other hand, I cannot help, being a victim of crime myself, to realize that my own father was assassinated by a person who was allowed to escape from prison and then was going to be brought back. And that is why I cannot go on either side of the coin here. I tend to agree that siguro dapat talaga, out of desperation, the people of this country is willing to look the other way just to get rid of the problem. In the same manner, I'm not ready to look at the other way to say we will have the death penalty, when in fact I heard here instances where we say there's very little judges, there are very few fiscals, and the investigation, and I heard you say there's only one additional crime laboratory that is now going to be added, and that is why I worry about the death penalty. I'd rather have that guy in jail rather than make a mistake in the investigation. And this is exactly where we are today. We are dealing with incomplete scenarios, but it is our duty to make the law work, to let this Republic Act 8551 come here. I'm not going to advise my good friend, Senator De Lima, that she is out of line, but I think it might be premature, and forgive me if I may say that, because unless you have evidence, and you're right, some policemen may be doing their job, some policemen may be taking advantage of the situation, eliminating these pushers, but it is the right of the Senate also to say, where are the drug lords? That is what we want to see. The drug lords must be prosecuted, not persecuted, prosecuted, so that we can really actually believe. And I believe the President of the Philippines, and I believe him because he was a mayor like me, and I believe that he is really sincere about peace and order. It is an act of national desperation, that which is going on. That when our children are afraid, we're recommending traffic, for example, be solved. I'm recommending that many of the people who own cars go take school buses. But I am ready to say we must have police or marshals guard the school buses so we can convince them. Because parents are afraid their children could be waylaid, given drugs, and the whole cycle repeats itself again, a curse to a family. So, Mr. President, I just would like to add these points into the discussion. Perhaps it's important, and I would like to acknowledge the position of Senator Cayetano, because he gave us points of view that are important. But we must not also be precipitate. Congratulations are in order when 13% of the crime rate has gone down. But at the same time, we must tarry a little and say, congratulations will be in order when we can be assured that the drug lords, the guys that have to be in jail, must be in jail. And therefore, more must be done to be able to get this done. I am certainly in support of the President of the Republic of the Philippines when he goes after, I have not heard him say, kill any addict. I'm a mayor, and as mayor of a local city, especially a tough city like Olongapo when I was there, or Davao City, in the case of Mayor Duterte, you will forgive, and I will address my good friend, the Human Rights Commission. You know, we are also allowed excesses in our language. We have to tell the public that, hey, we're going to go after you hammer and tongs. That's part of the psychological warfare which we do. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to condone killing. And that is why it behooves all of us here to find the necessary solutions, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, to this problem. Not just to talk about it, and it's good to talk, because we are here to find solutions, not just fix the problem. And so we thank God in this prayer that we have senators who can still stand up here on both sides. The other side represented by Senator De Lima, concerned, and the other side headed by Senator Cayetano, who practically right now is listening to the voices of the people saying, hey, there must be a solution. It cannot be just all rights. There's got to be a concomitant duty. And that is why, in the next Constitutional Convention or Constitutional Assembly, I will aspire to put in a committee on duties and obligations of citizens and not just a Bill of Rights. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President. I hope I did not tax your patience by delivering that long discourse.
Mr. President,
Senator
I'd
Cayetano.
just like to assure Senator Gordon that the drug lords are also being addressed. Some of the police identified, some of the mayors identified, they might not look like drug lords because you might not see their airplanes, yachts, etc. But I totally understand and feel the same way that eventually this crusade has to include the people who are pulling the strings, not only the people who are selling. But let me say that this is phase one, and getting the drugs out of the street is much easier if you go against the pushers underneath. To balance that with the human rights, as lawyers, all of us here were taught that it's better to see 1,000 guilty people go free than to unjustly jail one innocent person or kill one innocent person. But may I just remind our colleagues, when this famous quote, as this famous quote is being repeated, when it was first said, there wasn't synthetic drugs yet. Wala pang shabu. Diba? So it is still valid and we should still follow it. But let me amend it in this way. While we try to put the 1,000 guilty in jail or bring them to justice, and why we try to avoid that even one be falsely accused, every single day there is one innocent being sold drugs, mind being distorted, mind being destroyed, lives being destroyed. So in an ordinary crime, karnaper ako, senator ba may-ari ng kotse, it's easy to say he's innocent, I'm guilty. But in the crime against drugs, every victim is an innocent victim, you know, that we cannot ignore. So let me stop there and thank our colleagues for arguing passionately, and maybe we can find a common solution, Mr. President.
Let me just state, Mr. Chairman, with your permission again, Mr. President, that I am not a critic of the President at the moment. But let me just state also that the President has taken a huge step that no other President has done. That is to identify 5 generals, whether fairly or unfairly. It sends a huge signal that nobody will be exempted. The very fact that mayors, as we saw in the refectory a while ago, and his son are being presented before television is, I think, very important, because we're dealing with the perception of extrajudicial killings, but also dealing with the perception that big fish, like generals, are now being accused by no less than the President of the Republic of the Philippines, which is a good sign, at least as far as I'm concerned, with all due respect, for democratic principle or democratic rights. When those 5 generals were unmasked by the President, I heard, and I'm not going to call them bleeding hearts, there's some of them were saying, hey, you violated the rights of this general. My God, you know, I authored the plebs as a mayor, and I said policemen have an extraordinary amount of power under the social contract theory. We provide you with firearms, and when you use those firearms against the citizenry, we have the right administratively to have you suspended, even expelled, and pending appeal, you lose your job. In the same manner that you quoted chapter and verse the Georgian president who removed all the policemen and told them to perform their duty so that they can come back. And that is the point that I'd like to make. There is an effort, lest I be misunderstood right now, to address that problem. And the president has caught, I mean, many of us want to be president of this country. In this, they say there are 24 presidents here in this chamber. I'm sure that is not far from the truth. And I will not be a hypocrite, but I can tell you that as far as I'm concerned, when the President of the Republic unmasked 5 top generals and say, I'm laying it on the line, and 2 of them are going to be charged according to the National Police Commission, and I hope it goes on, that will be a great day in this country, and I'm pretty sure that nobody, including congressmen, senators, or even cabinet members, or governors and mayors who are involved with drugs, will be able to sleep nights, because now people will know that it has been done to the big guys, and therefore it's a time for the poor to have their day in court and to get justice. Thank you very much. That there has been nothing done to put a stop to this. Would you agree?
There's been little done.
Thank you. Upon the other hand, we are talking about impunity versus impunity today in these very hallowed halls of the Senate. Allegations that there is impunity in alleged extrajudicial killings, and the fact that we are reacting and we are seeing a phenomenon in our country that has not been seen in a long, long time. A president has been elected with 6 million votes majority precisely because he spoke out against the impunity of drug proliferation, of corruption.
Senator Gordon is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm actually standing here with mixed emotions at the moment. All of us are, I believe. So I wonder if my good friend, Senator Cayetano, will yield just a few questions.
Yes, Mr. President, it would be an honor to do so.
We were in the refectory a while ago when the distinguished gentle lady gave her privileged speech about drugs and the alleged extrajudicial killings that have been ongoing. If memory serves correct, I was once, and now he's addressing it. The shoe is on the other foot. He is now being accused of alleged extrajudicial or tolerating extrajudicial killings. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree, Mr. President.
I heard our good friend and my fraternity brother, Senator Pangilinan, talked about what is the solution, and I was troubled. I didn't want to participate here, lest it might drop into my lap as a Blue Ribbon Committee chairman, and I wanted to keep my objectivity. But the fact remains is that we have been pounded in this country by apathy, by negligence, by our ability to solve the problem. Upon a time in America lobbying for veterans' rights. And one senator, I was then at that time with Senator Inoue, who was fighting for veterans' rights for us. One senator from, I believe it was Patrick Leahy, I was with the ambassador at that time, raised the issue that they're not going to give any aid to the Philippines because of extrajudicial killings. This is during the time of our previous administration. So, Mr. President, when we start talking about extrajudicial killings, there is a long history of extrajudicial killings in this country, if you will. And the sad truth about this, and I'm sure the gentleman will agree, we know how to fix the blame, but we don't know how to fix the problem. Would you agree with that?
Difficult to answer. Some of us have ideas, but difficult, Mr. President.
I'm sure you have, but that's just an observation. I'm just asking you to agree or not. But the general tendency in this country is we know how to fix the blame, but when we start talking here in this august body as senators who are elected by the national populace, we're expected to provide solutions, and we're all seeking a solution to this problem. And so therefore, I hasten to say that when you go back, as an investigation, you go back to the crime scene and you go